These are exciting and challenging times for the manual therapy professions. I believe that the pain science world is handing extremely valuable information to clinicians. We now have a greater understanding of the behavior of pain states, and we are becoming aware of the molecular targets of manual therapy. Dear readers, I apologize for not writing a blog last month, but I have been sick with a cold that would not abate. Nonetheless, as usual, I have still been pondering about the many issues that plague those of us with this demon that can be so debilitating. I search constantly for strategies that could be effective for pain management, and my readings and searches often take me to places I had not been before. But no matter where I research, I come back to pain and the brain and evidence/research-based strategies. I will never find the cure for my own chronic pain. It is a question of what practices work somewhat and which ones would do more harm. Most importantly, how I can avoid flare-ups and not identify myself as my pain to the point where I don't move coming from a place of fear. Repetitive actions, long workouts, and strenuous exercise are often harmful, not only to those who have fibromyalgia but to most of us. I remember meeting my physiotherapist Nick Matheson for the first time and telling him I was aiming to speed walk for 1 hour a day. His question to me was why? Now, I understand the reasons why not. It isn't that walking for an hour cannot be pleasurable if one is so inclined and the weather is agreeable. It can even be relaxing and have direct positive effects on our brain. But to take this on as a long trek and as something that would provide physical benefits, the research has shown that after about 15 minutes repetition ceases to have many, if any, results. Living as I do in a climate that is rainy, damp, and foggy, walking outside is not often a positive experience. Walking in a gym for that length of time is less than helpful for strength building and boring. So, I have abandoned both inside and outside walking for more than 15 minutes at a time. Evidence has shown that these short walks once or twice a day are more beneficial than a prolonged walk. I have been thinking about this blog on and off for weeks now, and it is difficult to summarize where it has taken me in spite of the fact that I know it is directly related to pain control/management. One interesting experience I have had recently involves an elderly couple who have found pain control using a foam roller. Their stories about this apparatus intrigued me, and so of course I had to immediately research the topic. It turns out to be something I had used in yoga classes 2 decades ago, and in fact, own a modified version of it myself. Basically, it is a very hard bolster that one rolls on to release soft tissue. One must be very strong to avoid pressing on bones or joints which could be damaged during the process of using it. Foam rollers seem to have been popular 2 decades ago in Canada among some physiotherapists, influenced by the yoga community and the core strengthening craze. In fact, it is a process of self-massage. According to the manufacturers, one must not have chronic pain to use it safely. That is, the pain must be an acute episode, nor any history of cardiac problems, such as taking heart medication, high blood pressure or blood clots, and the person must have the strength to avoid coming in contact with joints or bones. Fortunately, this couple is very strong physically, does not have a history of any cardiovascular problems, and can avoid damaging themselves using the foam roller. For them, it has been highly effective in eliminating pain from their lives. Those of us with fibromyalgia could not safely use it, given our weakened muscles, and so that story ended, along with any other kind of apparatus intended to help with pain management in fibromyalgia. While it is possible for those of us with fibromyalgia to build strength, it takes a while, particularly if we have had the condition for a long time. Obviously, the younger we are, the better our chances of developing strength at a faster rate. I know that all of us have heard of various strategies that could help with pain other than medication, and off we go to try a new technique or gadget only to find we have a flare-up. I believe it is part of our hope for release from pain that we find a so-called expert, or become enthused with the excitement of someone who has had a positive experience with pain control that leads us down a particular path. I think I have tried it all: acupuncture, yoga, qigong, Chinese herbs, homeopathy, chiropractic techniques, massage therapy, naturopathy, reflexology, flower essences, Jin Shin, TENS machines, osteopathy, Feldenkrais. The list is endless and of course expensive. Finally, after many years I have found that the issue of pain control lies within our own brains. It becomes our own responsibility to use the strategies that those neuroscientists and physiotherapists who have done the research and found the most effective ways of managing the pain on a daily basis. Once again, on my bandwagon, light exercise that can progress to more moderate movement, meditation, relaxing techniques, quiet, peaceful hobbies that bring joy and are creative for us are among the strategies for those of us with fibromyalgia. Not easy to incorporate into our daily lives, not frenetic, requires discipline, avoidance of alcohol, caffeine, and sugar. Keeping stress to a minimum are the ways in which serotonin will be released. Pain will be managed if not obliterated. Struggling with pain and taking on the view that it must be conquered cannot do much except exacerbate our anxiety. The idea of being in pain can become hardwired in our brains. We need to believe in our own capacity to change this image of ourselves and work through it. For me, it involves working on optimism rather than pessimism, not an easy task. The issue of pain management is difficult for the layperson. I'm challenged to understand the vast amount of research on pain and its relationship to the nervous system. This month being National Physiotherapy Month, Nick was interviewed on TV this AM. For several years he has been awarded the Best Physiotherapist in Halifax by the Coast magazine. I have been most fortunate to have learned so much from him and some of my other colleagues at Dalhousie University with whom I worked closely for many years. These are evidence-based PhDs with their own research programs, many of whom are bringing about change to old ways of thinking. I wish for all of you a physiotherapist who understands and, even more, one who can explain neuroplasticity in pain. If one is stuck in the old physio tradition, one cannot proceed further. Unless time is spent by the therapist explaining in lay terms the ways in which one can train the brain and the strategies to employ so that one does not always rely on professionals. If your physiotherapist/physical therapist does not, or cannot explain neuroplasticity to you, search for one who can. It is the way of the future for those involved with helping people in pain. My own fibromyalgia flare-ups have decreased by half during the past 2 years, for that I am grateful. But of course, we are now faced with two dilemmas. First, what if a person cannot afford a therapist? For them, I would advise that they either go online or get the books I have highlighted over the past several years from the library. It is difficult to do reading by oneself, trying to understand the technical language of pain in the brain. PBS, among other TV stations, has presented many documentaries on the brain which are very helpful. Facebook information is also available and up-to-date research is forthcoming on FB from the experts around the world. The second issue to be addressed is how to do strengthening, including aerobic exercise without becoming extremely fatigued. Once again, 15 minutes twice a week can suffice initially. Longer only becomes repetitive. Those of us with fibromyalgia are subject to great fatigue, so we must proceed with caution and let our common sense guide us. The high-tech gym with the appropriate fashionable clothing has been part of the hype of the youth culture. The less we feed into it, the more sensible we become. Frenetic activity, wild perspiring, hour-long puffing is not the sign of a healthy person, but one who is pushing to excess. Walking is still the cheapest and best way to begin a regime of getting fit. So these are my musings of the past few weeks as I struggled with a month-long cold. Off to do my daily meditation, then my 15-minute walk. After weeks of rain, the sun is out,